Every species on Earth has spent millions of years adapting to this planet. Fish developed gills so they could breathe underwater. Birds evolved hollow bones so they could fly. Polar bears grew thick fur to survive freezing temperatures. Everything seems perfectly designed for the environment it lives in. And then there's us. We get burned by our own sunlight. Our backs constantly hurt. Human childbirth can be extremely dangerous. We develop allergies to things that aren't even harmful. And we're the only species that looks around at the world and asks, wait, why does something feel so wrong? What if the reason humans don't seem perfectly suited to Earth is because we're not originally from here? Let's start with something you experience every time you step outside. Your skin. Go outside on a sunny day and stay there long enough. Your skin can turn red. It can burn. It can blister. It can even peel. And sure, other animals can get sunburned too. But humans are especially vulnerable. Lizards can sit in the sun for hours. Dogs, cats, horses, elephants, they spend their entire lives under the same sun. Their bodies are naturally built to handle it. But humans? We had to invent sunscreen, a chemical cream we rub onto our skin just so we can safely spend time outside. Think about how strange that sounds. We literally created a product to protect ourselves from the star our planet orbits. Now think about your back. Back pain is incredibly common among humans. A huge number of people deal with it at some point in their lives. And when millions of people have the same problem, you start wondering if something about the design itself is the issue. Our ancestors evolved to walk on 4 limbs. Then, over millions of years, humans became fully upright. And our spine had to adapt. But it wasn't exactly a perfect upgrade. Our spine is basically carrying our entire upper body while fighting gravity every second of the day. And that can lead to serious problems. Then there's childbirth. This one is even crazier. Human babies have relatively large heads, and the mother's pelvis has to be wide enough to allow the baby to pass through while still being strong enough for walking upright. Evolution was basically stuck between 2 competing demands. Make the brain bigger, but keep humans walking efficiently on 2 legs. And childbirth became the painful result. A horse can give birth and have its baby standing and moving within a short time. A human baby? It can't even support its own head properly for months. We enter the world completely dependent on other people. And then there are allergies. Your immune system is supposed to protect you, but sometimes it attacks things that aren't actually dangerous. Pollen, dust, peanuts, cat hair, certain foods. Your body's own defense system can basically look at something harmless and say, yep, that's the enemy. But maybe the strangest thing about humans isn't our bodies, it's our minds. Think about this. Humans know we're going to die. A dog doesn't spend the night wondering what happens after death. A dolphin doesn't sit around thinking about the meaning of existence. But humans do. We know that one day we're going to disappear. And we've spent thousands of years trying to understand what happens after that. We built temples, created religions, wrote philosophy, built entire cultures around one question: what happens when we die? And here's the weird part. Why would evolution give us this ability? What survival advantage comes from constantly thinking about our own mortality? For some people, that awareness can cause fear, anxiety, or even despair. It almost feels like our brains became powerful enough to understand something that our instincts were never designed to handle. And then there's the biggest problem of all: the planet itself. Every ecosystem has some kind of balance. Predators hunt prey. Prey feeds predators. Plants provide food. Decomposers return nutrients to the soil. Everything plays a role. Except humans seem to have gone in a completely different direction. We cut down forests. We pollute rivers. We change the atmosphere. We've pushed countless species toward extinction. and we're still doing it. Instead of simply fitting into the ecosystem, we're changing the entire thing. And if humans were an invasive species, that's exactly what you'd expect. A species arrives in an environment it wasn't built for. It doesn't understand the limits. It simply takes whatever it can use. So here's the question. If humans really don't belong here, where did we come from? In 1973, scientist Francis Crick published a paper that introduced a fascinating idea. Crick was one of the scientists who helped discover the structure of DNA, and he suggested something called directed panspermia. The basic idea? Maybe life on Earth didn't actually begin here. Maybe an intelligent civilization somewhere else deliberately sent life to Earth. It sounds like science fiction. But the idea came from a serious scientist. Crick looked at the history of life and wondered if something was missing from the story. Life appeared on Earth billions of years ago, and compared with the age of the planet, it happened surprisingly early. Then there's something even more interesting. Meteorites. In 1969, a meteorite crashed in Australia. Scientists studying it found many different amino acids inside. Amino acids are some of the basic building blocks used by living things, and some of them are also found in life on Earth. That means important ingredients for life can exist inside rocks traveling through space, and we know some forms of life can survive incredibly extreme conditions. Take tardigrades. They're microscopic creatures that look like tiny eight-legged bears. Scientists have exposed them to extreme temperatures, radiation, and even the vacuum of space. And some survived. In 2019, a spacecraft carrying tardigrades crashed onto the moon. Scientists have debated whether some of them could still be alive there. So the idea that life could potentially travel between worlds isn't completely impossible. But then another researcher entered the conversation. In 2013, ecologist Ellis Silver published a book arguing that humans may not have originally evolved on Earth. He pointed to things like sun sensitivity, back pain, allergies, childbirth, and even our sleep cycle. His argument was simple. Maybe these aren't just random weaknesses. Maybe they're signs that humans evolved somewhere else. But here's where things get interesting, because mainstream science has another explanation. It's called evolutionary mismatch. And honestly, this explanation might be even more fascinating. Take our backs. Humans have only been walking upright for a relatively short period of evolutionary history. Millions of years sounds like a lot to us. But evolution takes an incredibly long time. Our spine may simply be the result of a body adapting to a major lifestyle change. It's not necessarily badly designed. It's just not perfect. Now, take sunburn. Our ancestors lost most of their body hair. One major theory is that this helped humans cool down through sweating while moving through hot environments. Sweat works much better when your skin isn't covered in thick fur. So humans traded some natural protection from the sun for better cooling. The downside? We became more vulnerable to sunlight. Then there's childbirth. Our brains became much larger, but our pelvis still had to support upright walking. Those two things created a difficult compromise. Scientists call this the obstetric dilemma. Our bodies basically had to choose between two competing goals, a bigger brain and an efficient upright body. And childbirth became the price. Even our destruction of the environment has an explanation. For most of human history, we lived in relatively small groups. Resources seemed huge compared with the number of people using them. Our brains evolved to focus on immediate survival. Find food, avoid danger, protect your family. Not, how do we manage the ecosystem of an entire planet for the next 500 years? So maybe humans aren't alien invaders. Maybe we're simply an animal that became incredibly powerful. way faster than our brains could adapt. But that still leaves one massive question. How did we become so advanced so quickly? This might be the strangest part. No other species in Earth's history has progressed like humans. Dolphins are extremely intelligent. They have complex social lives. They communicate with each other. But they haven't built cities. They haven't created technology. They haven't built computers. Chimpanzees use simple tools. But their technology hasn't progressed through thousands of generations the way ours has. Humans went from using sharpened stones to controlling nuclear energy in an incredibly short period of evolutionary time. We went from fire to rockets, from cave paintings to artificial intelligence, from looking at the stars to sending machines to other planets. Think about how insane that is. 200 years ago, modern railroads didn't exist. A little over a century ago, powered airplanes were still new. Decades ago, humans hadn't even walked on the moon. And today, we're building artificial intelligence. The speed is unbelievable. So what caused it? Scientists have several theories. Language may have played a huge role. If you enjoyed this kind of mystery and want more stories that make you question what you think you know, subscribe to Zen. Because the next question might be even stranger.